then organizing a new militia based in Nangarhar called Daesh Pakistan by India's spy agency RAW. And you know, Nangarhar is right next to our border. Setting up a dedicated cell to subvert CPEC projects with rupees 500 million to subvert Pakistan's progress and economic strength. So primarily, whether you talk about the economy of Pakistan, that is under threat by them, you talk about the military or the soft targets, even school children are not safe, forget about the elderly and the women. Your final comment on that, sir?
I think that Mr. Zamir Akram has focused very wisely, and his diplomacy always works because he sees that what is beyond all these issues. And as he has focused that now the reunion of all those segments which were threatening to peace of the region, he is asking to Pakistan and Afghanistan and to the United States even, and he's asking to UN to play its role and to disseminate the information in all those areas where this information is very important, because if India and other his sympathizers, we have seen that some sympathies from other countries as well for India. So we have to see that how we could make a better diplomacy, and Mr. Akram has done at a very important time, because he is drawing up attention towards one thing, that how Pakistan could take a benefit of this report and tell to the people that what are the real problems, how the future terrorist activities could be stopped or eliminated, all those efforts which are going against Pakistan and Afghanistan even. Because Pakistan always talk about Afghanistan's security and stability, because Pakistan understands Pakistan has been sacrificed because of Afghanistan. So CPAC it's a development project. But why they want to go against CPAC? Because they see that through this they can take a benefit, and even the United States could be pleased. But I think United States now Biden regime will be focusing on one thing, that is the free market economy and their internal situation. So it's a time that we should tell them that what Pakistan is thinking, what Pakistan government wants to play a role to eliminate all those activities which are for the future threat, for the peace. So it's very important that we have seen that these kind of efforts by the United Nations, and United Nations can play a role, because United Nations along with other nations, not only with the United States of America, other nations, they can tell to the people that Pakistan is so important in the region, and not because of Indian influence, because of their trade partner or something. India has its own work. Definitely, America will never boost India, but they have to see that for the regional cooperation, regional peace and development, Pakistan has more important role than India. And if they are talking about China, definitely one of my colleagues has mentioned that Joe Biden will be thinking about China in a different way, because they want to bring back the philosophy of free market economy, because they want to have a trade partnership with China. And if China is helping Pakistan, so they would be understanding Pakistan's position, and China, Pakistan, and America, all they can be at one page. But I think that Joe Biden will be going for the resolution, and he wants to resolve many things, as Obama has left, many things to get it resolved, because the Cuba was again, neglected after, yes, and the same.
All right. Thank you very much, Kazmi Saab, for your input, sir, in our program. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much. For Kazmi Saab, for your presence as well. And that's all we have for this hour. I'll see you, inshallah, tomorrow. Till then, you take good care of yourself. Khuda Hafiz.
What is the real Pakistani society about? What are our beliefs and what are our aspirations? Reflecting the true picture of our otherwise misunderstood Pakistani society. Reality versus perception. Where do we see our place in the global society? Join me, Fatma Shaheen, in rediscovering the real Pakistani society.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to BTV World News. I'm Shahzad Qayyum with the top stories of this hour. Federal Cabinet approves the abolishment of Price Control Committee and reassigns the task to the concerned district administration, which would determine and stabilize the prices of daily use items. Prime Minister Imran Khan expresses his determination to stop the cycle of corruption and money laundering that is debilitating the nation. The Corps Commanders Conference, chaired by Chief of Army Staff General Qamar Javed Bajwa, undertakes a comprehensive review of regional and domestic security environment with special focus on situation along borders, internal security and other professional matters of Army. President Dr. Arif Alvi says Pakistan is establishing border markets with Iran and Afghanistan to facilitate small and medium enterprises in the country. President Dr. Arif Alvi takes a ride on BRT Peshawar. He interacts with commuters and inquired about the bus service. The WHO mission says coronavirus may not have originated in Wuhan. No traces of the virus found there before December 2019. The team, after a month-long visit to the Chinese city, also dismisses the theory that a wet market or a lab leak are to blame. Jack Leach and James Anderson take 7 wickets between them as England overwhelms India by 227 runs during the second session of the 5th day to win the first match of the series in Chennai. Well, that's all for the moment. For more details and live streaming, log on to our website world.btv.com.pk. You can find us on Facebook page with the name of BTV World and follow us on Twitter at WorldBTV. Coming up next is Politics Today with Farrukh Pitafi. Stay tuned to watch.
shall live in the valleys of heaven. The days we spent, the nights we cried, we wonder, but knew not why. For God has sent us, please don't torment us. Just her and lonely, therefore shine. You can't retrieve us, so please believe us. Just her and lonely, therefore shine. There will come a time when we shall laugh and smile into the sun. Our happy faces shall light the moon, and you'll know our battle is won. This world will end, so try and comprehend that no one lives forever. In the promised land, where no king will stand, we all shall be free together. The time will come we won't regret. All of nature's secrets that we've kept washed away by the rain. And those muddy tears will come from pain.
In the era of global news coverage, we aim to tell the truth. Through meticulous discussions and in-depth analyses about stories that matter the most. We underline key events as and when they happen. Watch Newsroom with me, Umar Khalid Bhatt, for a daily roundup of the latest international and local top stories.
Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm farrukh Pitafi. Once again we have to talk about the ordinance that is very important regarding the Senate elections. Why it is important? Because the government has been pushing for the open ballot elections in the Senate. And after that, something very amazing has happened. The government kept on building this case, And then we saw the leaked video. I hope in a while we are going to put it up as well. A leaked video which shows 3 of the MPAs in the past elections from PTI actually is receiving a lot of money from the opponent parties, and that was astounding. And after that, we have seen that there has been one designation in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa as well. But strangely enough, the opposition parties that kept on actually talking about open ballot, especially when it comes to their own charter of democracy that was signed between Nawaz Sharif and Benazir Bhutto. In that, the 23rd clause says that there will be an open ballot election. And now, when the government is actually pushing for it, they seem to be opposing it. On the other side, when you look at the ordinance that was signed by the promulgated by the President of Pakistan, there has been quite a lot of debate about that as well. We have seen the opposition actually criticizing it, and lawyer bodies also criticizing it. But the Honorable Court, the Supreme Court of Pakistan, which is hearing the presidential reference, which is connected to this ordinance, actually doesn't see any big flaw with the whole thing. It has been said that the government has the right to promulgate the the ordinances. That is not all. Then we have to talk about PDM as well. PDM seems to be gearing up for a long march on 26th of March. Again, it sounds like a case of tautology, but that is there. We are going to talk about that as well. In order to help us understand these issues, in studio, I am joined by Farrukh Hassan Sahab, who is Special Assistant to the Prime Minister. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Pitafi sir. Very kind of you. Bahut mehrbani. Thank you.
And on Skype, we are joined by Kaisar Ahmed Sheikh Sahab, who is an MNA of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz. Sheikh Sahab, thank you very much for being part of the program as well. As we move forward, we are going to be joined by another guest on telephone. But let me start with Farrukh Hassan Sahab. Farrukh Hassan Sahab, why is it? I understand, and in the introduction also, I have actually laid the case for it. But the question right now is that why did the government actually think about this now? It could have done it in 2.5 years, could have gone to the Supreme Court, it could have promulgated the ordinance and taken care of the matter. Why now?
Actually, we were trying since October last, and we have been inviting, PTI had been inviting the opposition to come and sit with it to discuss some electoral reforms. Unfortunately, in the past, in general terms, and since the commencement of the PDM agitation in particular, they have not shown any inclination at all to sit with the government to discuss any kind of reform at all. All they wanted to discuss was reprieve for them from accountability.
The so-called NRO.
Absolutely. So this is the reason why, there's been a lot of frustration about it. So, we kept trying and we kept trying, and I think when we realized, that there was no possibility, no prospect of them sitting across the table, with the government to negotiate the electoral reforms. This is the only option that the government was left with, That is why we, on the one hand, moved the court, sought the input of the Supreme Court, with regard to, holding the elections with an open balloting. And on the other hand, because on the 11th, the Election Commission of Pakistan is going to announce the
schedule.
The schedule. So we only had till the 11th of February to come up with the promulgate an ordinance.
Once the schedule is announced,
that's right. We cannot do it. So this is dependent on the input of the Supreme Court. That's very important. This ordinance, is there, but will not be promulgated in case we do not get a positive signal from the Supreme Court. It lapses.
But my question was basically about the reference that you filed a couple of months ago, and now it is being heard. It could have been done earlier as well, because there seems to be a very clear question that has been raised, whether the election falls under the purview of Article 226 or 2017 election law. So that is a very clear question. Why not ask it in time?
Well, it has been moved. The Supreme Court is going to adjudicate on this,
Yeah,
and in case they adjudicate in the affirmative, then obviously, the ordinance will stand promulgated. And if they adjudicate otherwise, there are many queries, many questions, so much, could have been done in the past also. But the fact of the matter is that, let me reiterate, that we have been trying. We have been trying, to convince the opposition parties to sit on the table, and
because of that hope, you didn't go to this.
So we did not go to this, but now that, there was virtually no time left for us. We were left with no option but to, on the one hand, move the Supreme Court to get its injunction, and on the other hand, put this resolution in place, so that, not resolution, this ordinance in place, so that if we get a positive injunction, this will stand promulgated. Otherwise, Senate elections will be held through a secret ballot.
Secret ballot, and that is quite intriguing as well. Let me bring in Kaisar Ahmed Sheikh Sahab. Kaisar Ahmed Sheikh Sahab, I want to hear your perspective on ordinance and also the idea of secret ballot, open ballot. But let me first quote from the Charter of Democracy, and that is a document signed by your party's leader and People's Party's leader, and it says to prevent, and I'm quoting clause 23, to prevent corruption and flow crossing, all votes for Senate and indirect seats will be open identifiable ballots. This is your own party. No. This is your own.
It's not their party, two parties.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I'm just actually trying
Charter of Democracy.
Make this point. This is your own side. And yet, now your party finds fault with the idea, sir?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Mr. Farrukh Pitafi. On various occasions that there has been a charter of democracy signed. Now, after that signature, there had been two chances, and both of the parties collectively would have done, there was a two-third majority. So there were some reasons, of course, the charter was signed. But later on, there may be some changes, there may be some different of opinion or arguments. So after that, there had been the opportunity to both the parties. The People Party had the opportunity and PMLN had the opportunity. They felt it like that this is not the workable solution. So, of course, we signed, no doubt in it. But later on, the arguments were more, had more weightage that it should be with the secret ballot. That is why we want that this thing should have been intensively discussed in the committees, in the standing committee, and then it should have been discussed in the National Assembly.
Right. And here are two things. I mean, on one side, I hear you, I understand what you're saying, but it seems to be distressing because it was of the two parties that were signatory, it was your party that kept on bringing up Charter of Democracy and kept on saying that it holds. And secondly, you have said that there must be some good reason. I am curious to know what exactly is that reason, because we have seen on video now that people are bribed and they sell their votes. So what exactly is the harm in ensuring that the elections take place through open ballot? Your opinion and your party's perspective.
It is totally illogical. First of all, this is not the spirit of your constitution, 1973. In UK, the mother of democracy, all norms and traditions are there. They are never done like that. And moreover, I just would like to add that you see, you are right. You may be quoting this video that there is some incidences, or might be that some money is exchanged for these votes. But what do you think about this foreign funding? Huge billions of rupees of foreign funding has been given to the parties, and what about the?
I understand what you're saying, but apples and oranges, sir. We are at this moment talking about the Senate elections, and they have hardly anything to do with the foreign funding case, right? But I get your point of view. Let me come back to Rauf Hassan Sahab. Rauf Hassan Sahab, now.
parties give tickets, is it not correct that the money is exchanged to give tickets? So in this case, if the foreign funding people would be given the tickets, if the tickets will be given to the to those who are very close to the leaders, so what will happen? Will not they exchange the money? Of course, you are right. Or otherwise, Mr. Rauf is here. He can verify that is there never any transaction for giving tickets? Have there been some money taken by the party leaders or not? Is it, right. What is the correct?
Let me ask Rauf Hasan Sahab, sir, your take on this quickly, if you can clarify.
First of all, you were very correct in stating that we can't compare oranges with apples. You know, that has really nothing to do with the subject matter that we're discussing today. But let me reiterate that PTI is absolutely clean. We have never accepted any money. The party has never accepted any money from any sources, you know, which are forbidden in the electoral laws. And this case is now sub judice. It is with the Election Commission of Pakistan. They're going to adjudicate on it. So, I mean, both them and us, you know, I think it's better for us to wait and see exactly what happens.
And that actually brings me to another question, which is maybe the biggest elephant in the room, and that is the money in politics. And it is important because we have seen that in various political parties and election, perhaps we don't have the campaign finance laws. And because of that, the political parties, especially those who are older ones, they actually sell their tickets, even MNA MPA tickets. Why is it that every time we meet, our political parties meet and they want to fix the electoral laws, they don't look at the money in politics reality? Because every time in election, when the tickets are given, after that you are given a limit on expenditure. But never ever it happens that in the general elections, people are going to, actually scale back and ensure that that limit is respected.
Well, I think you brought up a very important point, and I think we must discuss it. We must take the input of our colleague also. Over a period of time, I think there has been a criminalization of society, by and large. You know, I think we're not the kind of. My worthy colleague was trying to compare Pakistan with the UK. I think the comparison does not exist. You know, they are a different kind of society, and we unfortunately are a different kind of society. Like Prime Minister Khan has been saying, you know, that we virtually are trying to kill morality. We have just badgered morality. There's nothing known as morality that actually exists. You know, and which is the question actually we must discuss. And of course, there has been a gradual politicization of society. I mean, you look at institutions, like PIA. You look at institutions like Steel Mill. You look at all the public sector organizations. Basically, for every one person that was needed, we have 300, we have 200, we have 400 people. This is why all the public sector organization. And how were those people inducted? Politically connection.
Absolutely right. And let me, with your permission, allow me to actually bring in the third guest who joins us briefly on telephone. Salman Akram Raja Saab, senior lawyer, an expert on constitutional affairs, joins us. Let me ask him about the legal view regarding the the ordinance, and also this entire debate that about the open ballot election. Salman Akram Raja Saab, you are following the news. You are looking at what is being debated in the Honorable Court, and then this ordinance as well. I am not able to understand why the opposition or certain lawyers are saying that this ordinance is an attempt to put pressure on the Honorable Courts. The courts don't see it that way.
Well, we don't know how the courts see it, but let's just look at what the ordinance is doing. You see, what the ordinance is doing is, it is creating a temporary law under which the Senate elections are to be held in March, and the Senate elections will elect senators for 6 years. This temporary law itself will come to an end in 120 days, or at the most another tenure of 120 days. So the question here is, should a temporary law be used to create a Senate that is going to last for 6 years? And then after that Senate has been elected, you're going to place the same ordinance before the newly elected Senate for its approval. So it's a circular thing that you create a Senate using the temporary law, and then that Senate is going to ratify the law that has created it. So it's a very strange constitutional situation. Whether it is entirely illegal or unconstitutional is one thing, but there is a question of
I'm glad that you have
morality
pointed that
involved
out.
here.
Salman Akram Raja Sahab, I'm glad that you have pointed that out. I want you to actually give an opinion about this as well. Whether what you are saying is a matter of ethics or matter of law. What does this constitution that I'm holding at this moment in my hand say the ordinances can do in this regard?
See, ethics and law are not always entirely distinct. There is a question of, clearly a question of constitutional morality here, and ultimately it will be for the courts to say whether this constitutional morality rises to the level of an illegality or not. I will not at the outset say that this is patently illegal. I think this is extremely unfortunate that this course of action was adopted. This is unparliamentary and anti-democratic, but it may well be legal. That we have to wait for the court to determine. But this is clearly not something that should be done, and a temporary law should not be used to make permanent changes to the structure of the state. That is the basic bottom line as far as the question of constitutional morality is concerned. Other than that, is it a good idea to make elections open rather than secret? That again is a question of political morality. Now, if we are assuming that our parliamentarians are generally corrupt people, Article 62, 63 has no impact on our parliamentarians, then it's a very sad indictment of the entire democratic system of the state. Now, I worry that if we keep playing these videos and keep ingraining this into our minds, into the minds of the populace, then what suffers at the end of the day is democracy itself. Not just this election or one political party or the other, but the entire structure of democratic government and constitutional government is made.
Raja Sahab, that actually takes us to the deeper questions about the nature of our political parties, and I'm glad that it is being discussed. But let me first actually, get the technical questions out of the way. Here is an argument that is given by the government that once the schedule has been announced for the elections, the new bylaws cannot be implemented. Do you see this as a relevant argument at all?
No, that is correct. Laws generally cannot be changed. However, that is something that the constitutional amendment itself could have taken care of. Now, supposing the Supreme Court were to say that you can't do this, Article 226 applies to Senate elections, then everything goes unless there is a constitutional amendment. If the Supreme Court says, no, you can do this, you can have open elections for the Senate, then you'd have to legislate. At that point in time, legislation could have been enacted to say that notwithstanding the issuance of the schedule, this amended law will apply to the elections in March 2021. That could have been done. But what they've done at the moment is they've said, here is a temporary law which does not need to go through Parliament. It will determine how elections are held, provided the Supreme Court opinion comes in favor of the government, and for 6 years, senators will be elected. So that is what we have in front of us at the moment.
And that is important. One more question before I let you go, sir. Regarding the overall aspects of how our parliamentary business is going on, I'm sure that you are actually seeing how the parliament is gridlocked. And we don't have the government doesn't have the numbers, the opposition doesn't have the numbers to amend the constitution. If that is the situation in the parliament, does constitution provide a clear answer how to actually amend the constitution? Because the concern is that even if all parties in principle agree on something like on open ballot, there seems that opposition parties can always exact their revenge and cause a gridlock where nobody can amend the law.
Now, that is how parliamentary business functions. If the constitution cannot be amended because the requisite numbers don't vote for the amendment, then you don't amend it. You don't find a backdoor way to amend the constitution and get some other mechanism to in effect amend the constitution. A constitutional amendment should be a very clear event. It should follow the procedure prescribed in the Constitution. The requisite majorities should be available. If not, then the Constitution stays as it is. That is why it is the Constitution. That is why amending the Constitution has been made much harder than ordinary legislation. The idea is that this is the basic grid of your state. So that basic grid should not be easily amendable.
Right. With due respect, sir, if in order to make sure that there are no backdoor is used, one has to make sure that no backdoor actually exists. And there seems to be a lot of unresolved questions. Maybe the Honorable Supreme Court of Pakistan will provide us answers. Salman Akram Raja sir, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Thank you very much for your valuable input. Rauf Hassan sir, coming back to you, sir. You have listened to the arguments, and I could feel that you had a lot of rebuttal.
Yeah, I wish he had stayed, and I think we could have had
but he will be watching the screen, so it's okay.
Well, there's nothing undemocratic about this move, and there's definitely nothing unparliamentary about this move. After all, in the same constitution, we have this concept of ordinances.
Yeah.
It is part of the constitution.
Right.
Why is it that we have the concept of ordinances? So there could be a situation, I think those who were writing the constitution, they must have realized that there would be a situation, or there could be a situation where the ruling party does not actually have a two-third majority, and yet, in order to run the affairs of the state, it is absolutely imperative to do certain things, That is why they introduced this concept of ordinances, So there's nothing unconstitutional about it, there's nothing unparliamentary about it, and there's nothing undemocratic about it. This is the principal objection that I had to what Salman Akram Raja Sahab was saying. So, we are abiding by the constitution, but if we are abiding by the constitution, that what we do basically is neither unparliamentary nor undemocratic. So that is the basic point that I wanted to say. We tried. We moved the resolution in the National Assembly. And for 2 days, you must have seen it, I saw it, everybody else must have seen it, what kind of a pandemonium was created.
It was a physical brawl.
Absolutely, there was physical brawling. So, when things come to this pass, then, you have to resort to all the constitutional provisions that you can make use of. And this is exactly what we have done.
And here's another very important question. It is about how your party has been treating or conducting the parliamentary business. The critics say that your party never learned the art of taking opposition along. And that's why the environment that is created in the parliament is hostile. And that's why it ends up like this.
Pitafi sahab, that's a very important question. And I think, if you want me to answer that question, that I have to be very truthful about it. So, not that the PTI government has not tried to get the opposition on board. The fact is that we have not been able to find, in spite of trying innumerable times, we have not been able to get them on board. Because all they are interested in is to get an NRO. They say, we will proceed, we will cooperate with you, we will agree with whatever you say, we will do whatever you want us to do, give us the NRO. My government, my party, my leader, he says that I will resign the job, I will leave the government if I have to, but I'm not going to do this. And you must try to understand, we must all try to understand why is it that he is so resolute about this. It is because of what we've done to this country in the past, and we were talking about, I think the question before last, was all about it.
Money.
The way we have actually criminalized this society.
And this is when we talk about money in politics, allow me to bring in Kaisar Ahmed Sheikh Saab. Kaisar Ahmed Sheikh Saab, you were earlier mentioning the example of UK. That is the cradle of our form of democracy, and I understand we are functioning in a Westminster democracy model. But sir, let us also talk about tweaks. For example, India. India doesn't have any House of Lords. It has a Senate like us called Rajya Sabha. And in that, political parties, their heads actually look at the vote before a party member is going to vote for the Senate post. So if that can happen in India, and it seems to be working there, especially when it comes to Rajya Sabha, why is it that our opposition parties don't see that logic and have abandoned their own principles?
Because, Mr. Gaddafi, there are various drawbacks. Mr. Salman Akram Raja very rightly mentioned in detail that this is all against the constitution. Now, if you don't, you cannot amend your question to him that if in such situation is created, when there is a chaos and the things are not sorted out, and if it is the utmost necessary to make amendments and you don't have the required majority, then in that case you should go for the fresh mandate, and the Prime Minister has the prerogative to just without having the majority, all people are
you
elected.
actually brought up the matter of amending the constitution. My question was something else. But since we are talking about it, remember that 18th Amendment was passed by consensus with the cooperation of People's Party and PMLN. You had the chance to do away with the idea of ordinances. Why didn't you do it? In fact, your own government actually kept on introducing
67 ordinances were issued during PML and
you also introduced a lot of important ordinances, particularly in the end regarding war and terror as well.
Mr. Pitafi, we never introduced an ordinance which was against the Constitution. This is a clear-cut amendment in the Constitution. No ordinance can fulfill that amendment. If such is the case, then there is no need of any two-third majority. Then the whole spirit of the Constitution is failed. Now the matter is sub judice and it is before the court, and the court will decide about explain about all about it. Now you must be remembering that only few days ago the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court mentioned that the parties are one-man show. Now, if it is such case, and if the tickets of the Senate are not being allotted by the MPs, if the case is like that the tickets are presented before MPs who have to vote, if they allot tickets or they unanimously with consensus of the party, they do it. The cases in our case, in situation, the parties, their leaders allot the tickets. So the leader has been having dictatorial power. If such case in Senate is adopted, and moreover,
I hope we are not actually confusing two very important matters, sir. Right. On one side, I understand that one-man show is an old argument that is given, and I understand the Honorable Court was reflecting on the lack of nuances or structures within parties. But sir, with due respect, it was your party that was eager since 1990s to bring in entire flow crossing law. And it was once actually promulgated, done away by General Pervez Musharraf. Then you also introduced an 18th Amendment. The idea is that nobody should actually violate the trust of the party's mandate. So now, how do you actually can we confuse the two?
Mr. Pitafi, you know, whenever I appear in your program, I never talk about what one party is doing. Now, we are talking here about the sensible argument, what should be the appropriate. So, if one party has been doing something wrong, it doesn't mean that the other parties can do it the same thing. The ordinances, you see, if there is an amendment in Constitution, ordinance cannot be promulgated. Now the point, very important point I have, if you just want that the Senate seats should be allotted, then why you then ask the members to elect? Just give number of seats to each party. It's very simple, no need of election. You know about the party's strength. You just allot the seats and don't, in the Constitution, make the amendments that don't talk about the election. Now you are making those members as puppet. They have no value. They can't do anything.
Fascinating.
And then again, I suggest...
that is a fascinating argument to make. That is a fascinating argument to make. I'm sure that it was a rhetorical point that you actually brought up. But that's a good point. I mean, in West, many places, political parties have or political structure have what is called proportional representation. Why not actually go with that, Farrukh Sahab? Why is it that we have to have a territorial house elected indirectly, and then we have to go for this procedure? Why not actually give each party their due share and ask them to appoint whosoever they want?
Well, there are many flaws with the system, but I think, we will have to first declare it as dead and buried before we move on to, something, that you are proposing.
Yeah.
Proportionate representation system has a lot of value, a lot of value. In our country, for example, in this typical British parliamentary system, that we're pursuing, a person can be elected by winning 15% of the total vote, 20% of the total vote.
Because
I mean, like,
it
example,
is
if there are 10 candidates, first
post.
past the post basically, and one who gets the largest number of votes.
Yeah.
And in most of the constituencies in this country, you know, the person who's actually sitting as the member of the National Assembly or provincial assemblies, you know, has got less than 50% vote. There's, I think, seldom that you actually get more than 50% vote. So there's a moral question that a person who does not command the support of more than 50% of the constituency people, he does not have a moral right to sit as their representative. So that is the principal justification for what you are proposing, proportionate system. But we're far from it, because basically, as I said, you know, we have not declared the system as having not succeeded, and we have not yet validated. But I think it's an academic discussion that we must undertake. See, because the system has created lots of problems. While of course we are committed to democracy, the system itself is not sacrosanct. You know, as long as whatever we bring in this country is democratic. The commitment, the basic commitment is to democracy. And we remain, I mean, my party, our leader, we all remain committed to democracy in this country. We don't see any alternate to democracy. So I think, you know, maybe this is a debate. All the political parties should sit together in the parliament.
And here's another debate.
And see, let's try to improve the system.
And here's another
and make it more representative.
Right. In order to make it representative, especially given that the lower house of the parliament is a popular house, and there are population imbalances between provinces. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Balochistan, and Punjab don't have anything in balance. That's why all senators, all provinces get equal seats in the Senate. Question is there a possibility to hold direct elections
to the Senate? Yeah, I think there is a thought process within our party that yes, that is a possibility that we should consider. Definitely consider. See, because right now the Senate is not a representative body. It is, you know, bicameral legislature basically. You know, this represents, the Senate represents the Federation of Pakistan. That is the reason why all provinces have equal number of senators. You know, it is not by population, but it is by representation. So that's a very important point. You know, I think why not? Why shouldn't we hold elections, you know, to elect senators to the? I mean, like for example, it happens in the American system, where the congressmen and the senators both are elected. You know, while in the British
America,
system,
by the way, the upper house, the Senate, the territorial house has more powers.
That's right.
Powers.
That's right.
Our Senate,
but in the British system, in the parliamentary system that we follow, the House of Lords in the UK is nominated. It is not elected. So you know, we have followed that. We have followed the British model. I think some of the features of the British model suit us, while some of the features of the British model do not suit us. Like my worthy colleague was comparing Pakistan with the UK, and I think I beg to disagree with him. I think there's no comparison here. That's a mature democracy. We are an evolving democracy. We have to go through many stages before we come up with a system which actually suits the psyche of the people in this country. That's very important. And I think I invite all of them. I mean, from this forum, from your forum, let's sit and talk about improving this system that we have.
Right. This is for the second time that you have actually referred to the British democracy as established democracy. I wish that you have interaction with some of the British politicians of late, because they are also tired of the way their structure keeps on regressing.
Yes.
And that's, Kaisa Sheikh Sahab, that seems to be the problem. In democracy, if you don't keep on renewing the institutions, they have the capacity to regress. And we have seen in India, where all institutions seem to have fallen apart. Their Supreme Court now doesn't actually dispense with justice. Their parliament, their media, other institutions don't seem to be working in tandem. The question right now is, these are very important questions that were discussed just now. Proportional representation in the Senate, or maybe direct elections. Your party was part of the negotiations that went on during 18th Amendment. Can you just help us understand the discussions that went on? That's why you kept both Senate as indirectly elected body, and also ordinances.
No, you see, in the 18th Amendment, the process was completely in unity. All the parties were taken on board. There was a committee, and then there was a convener, a chairman of the committee. That was they debated and discussed for many months all these amendments, whatever they wanted to have in 18th Amendment. In this case, this matter has not been discussed in the standing committee, just discussed a few minutes, and then initiated discussion in the National Assembly. The same time, Treasury benches people, they mentioned about the quorum. Now, this is the first time I have seen in my life a parliament here that the government side is asking for the quorums, and they don't want to open the debate. They don't want to have discussion in the parliament. So it is not logical. This is a big change, amendment in the constitution, and you see why almost most of the liars are against it. You just talked with Mr. Salman Akram Raja now. Now the legal aspects are also there, and in this case, very important point is that you are giving full powers to the party leaders, not to the party. The ticket, either there could be two ways. No? Either the tickets can be elected with consensus after discussion with the MPs who have to vote, or otherwise the tickets in our cases are allotted mostly by 1, 2 or 3 leaders. So this is, what is the election in it? If you have to allot the ticket and not debate and discuss and set there even in your own parties, then what is the logic? Just a leader will have a mandate and they will decide about the tickets. They can have foreign funding, they can have various concessions for that. Anyone who is giving more favorable things to him, then he will be elected, he will be given ticket. And in this case, why the party, why the members of PTI are angry? Most of the members,
it is for the second time that you have actually brought up the matter of dictatorial powers of party leaders. I know it that your party actually kept on asking for designations and you actually on record revolted. But let me ask you, do you have a solution to this as well? How to actually fix this problem?
This is a very clear cut. You see, I did not revolt. My point was that it should be debated not only in the party but also to my voters. I have to take mandate resignation. I have to again go to my voters. Now, in this case, party is very important, but my voters are also important, and my party main point is vote ko izzat do. So that is why I referred this case. I arranged a meeting on 30th of December with my constituency people, and I debated there, and then I got the mandate, and when they approved, I just submitted my resignation. I did not revolt. But my point is very clear. You can, I don't know why anyone can differ. You see, what does it party means? What does party ticket means? Does it mean that only 1 or 2 persons should allot ticket? What are the normal practices in the party? You see, when the tickets are allotted, they are not been debated or consulted in the party. The whole party, the working committee of the party, the executive committees of the parties. So these should, in our party there are instances where they debate. Most of the times we discuss.
And that's a good point. That's a good point. But it is a principled position. I wanted to have some kind of suggestions how to fix this problem as well. We will have that discussion another time because I'm told that we are running out of time. Let me ask you both. First, Rauf Saab, your conclusion, sir.
All political parties must have democracy within itself, within themselves. If they want to have democracy in the country, you know, what we are doing at this moment in time is that we're paying lip service to democracy. We are not democratic parties, and consequently our commitment to democracy is very weak and very surreal. So I have been advocating about this and I've been writing about this, and I feel that the first important step that we must take to strengthen democracy, democratic roots in the country, is to make our parties democratic. Number 2, we must dispense with oligarchical hierarchies. That is absolutely criminal, I think, which unfortunately exists in so many other political parties. I'm not going to name them. And number 3, we should not treat this system as sacrosanct. Democracy is, the commitment to democracy is, but the system needs improvement, needs changes, and I think we should be open to it. All political parties must sit on a table, and think of ways and means that we don't end up with such controversies at every election that is held in this country.
All right. Well, let me ask Kaisar Ahmed Sheikh Sahab, your conclusion, sir.
I agree in most of the points he mentioned, Mr. Rose mentioned, that you see there should be democracy in the parties, there should be elections in the party. All office bearers of the party should be nominated or should be elected after proper elections. And until and unless there is no democracy in the parties and only few people are controlling those parties, this whole system is becoming redundant and it's not working. That's why you see we are seeing every day there is no legislation being successful. So until and unless we have a democracy in the real spirit, and this constitutional amendment what they are proposing, I think they have now referred to the Supreme Court. Of course, Supreme Court will address this matter, and I think they will not intervene. They will not like to intervene. In my opinion, it's up to Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court, but I feel that this is clear-cut violation of the Constitution.
Right, Kaisar Ahmed Sheikh Sahab, thank you very much, sir, for being your participation. Rauf Hassan Sahab, great having you.
Pleasure, pleasure, absolutely.
Viewers, you have listened to our participants. First of all, let me actually point out two missed opportunities. One, I said that we are going to talk about money in politics. This is what we keep on trying to discuss in the previous programs as well. But given that we have a dearth of time, it was difficult. I will actually bring up the matter again in discussion. Regarding the PDM strategy also, that is important. But these are deeper, fundamental questions about our democracy. We cannot fix the problem of how political parties that claim to be the standard bearers of democracy in the country, how they cannot introduce democracy within themselves. What are we even talking about, right? And regarding money is important. Regarding the procedures, we are going to talk about that in coming days as well. But at this moment, it is important to remember, if we are talking about democracy, democracy is not name or something that is congealed and just stays in a corner. You have to keep on disrupting the quality that is there and keep on improving. If we cannot do that, perhaps we are compromising a lot. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.